Hello, and thank you for listening. My name is Luke Mardigan, and I'm the owner of the Mardigan Agency located in St. John's, Michigan. A lot of people ask me, why do you have a radio show? Well, it's because we've been able to accomplish something that most captive insurance agents aren't able to do, and that's having a scalable sales team and a self-managing operations team. And what that's allowed us to do is to grow to about double the size of the average captive insurance agency in the United States. And on this show, we share with you how we've been able to achieve that both practically and tactically so you can implement those concepts in your business. And today, we are continuing a theme that we've had for all of 2021, which is no-brainers and never happens. And the no-brainer we're discussing today is track your never happens. This is a no-brainer, which meaning it should get done without anyone having to think about it. It should be automated, built into your culture. And joining me for today's discussion is the one who's helped me get the no-brainers and never happens down and implemented. And it's our special guest.
Alec Nuremberg, Director of Operations.
With the Mardigan Agency.
With the Mardigan Agency, of course. Yes.
Yeah. Make sure you say that.
Yeah.
How often should business owners audit?
I don't know if I've ever said that, actually. I'm sorry.
I don't know if you did either.
Yeah.
Just notice it. How often should business owners audit and make changes to their systems? So, I'm going to kick that one to you and just say, I hired you full time because they should do it full time.
That never stops. It's all day, every day in some capacity. So when I identify, an issue of whatever sort in a system or something like that, it usually goes into my phone first. Like okay. I do a lot of walking around. I do a lot, and these things are identified just out of normal conversation 9 times out of 10. Like things come up in meetings, of course, too, that I just didn't know were happening or something. But it's a lot of conversation with employees of the agency. I'll go up front to where the CSRs work, and I'll sit down and just have conversations with them. And I'm like, oh, that's not in line with the idea that I had for this system. So I write it down and then I go look at it. It never stops. You should always be communicating with the entire team that you are responsible for or you work with, and keep seeking out inefficiencies. So it's going to become more and more difficult to find those, hopefully.
Over time.
Yeah, over time, because they're getting better. They're getting more lean.
They should be very either really, really small or really, really big.
Right. Yeah.
The middle ground stuff. Should just be.
Yeah, that should be gone pretty quick. Yeah.
And so if I'm listening, I go, we should always be talking about it. Well, duh. But I'm really busy, Alec. I'm running the business. I'm selling. Yeah. I got a family. I got I'm trying to stop myself from getting overweight. Yeah. Trying to stay healthy. So what are some ways that you said that one of them is just talking. Mm-hmm. How do we as an agency encourage open communication about our never happens? Let's pause for a second before you answer that question. Yep. Never happens. So we've talked about this before. Right. There's a whole episode defining never happens, but the whole concept is, when the Space Shuttle Challenger blew up, NASA created these never happen events. Mm-hmm. There were 3 or 4 people who checked that coil. It was reported as having some type of issue, and they still allowed the shuttle to go
gaskets,
up. Yeah. And those poor people passed away in this tragic accident. Right. That's still spoken of very solemnly within NASA. Yeah. And that's triggered never happens. Well, as an insurance agent, I'm not sending people into space. Right. But there's some things that should never happen. Right. And when they do happen, that is your chance. That's your shot at fixing it and turning it into something that never happens because there's a system to prevent it from happening to begin with. So how have we encouraged our team to communicate when those things occur?
First, encouraging communication just as, the foundation. If you notice something or somebody's doing something that is not in congruence with what we say, bring it up. You're not telling on anyone. Like, this is work hours, this isn't your friendship time. This is the time to make the organization more efficient and more lean. Well, so
for the sake of the clients and for the sake of the culture.
Exactly. Right.
Clients first, but the culture, if you take care of the clients, the culture kind of gets taken care of naturally.
Yeah. I mean, the culture is just as important, I think, because it relates to how we execute, which is what the customer sees or the client sees. Yep. So we have daily logs, for example. We get those every day from every CSR and
customer service rep.
Yep. I get those every evening, read them every evening, and they're instructed if there's an issue throughout the day that, they're busy. They can't just call me with any issue they have,
And be on the phone with you explaining it and coming up with a solution.
Unless it's time sensitive, go ahead and do that. But they highlight them in their log. So they're always yellow. So first thing I do before I even read the log, I just scroll through the whole thing to see if there's any yellow. Read that first, write it down, goes on my list of issues that I got to, deal with. And then I go through the log and see what actually happened throughout the day.
Yeah. So if I had to say a first step to creating open communication, somebody has to be in charge of tracking the never happens.
Yeah. Tracking is the most important. Yeah.
So, and
that's a means that we use to track.
Yes. Yeah. So that's one of them.
Yep.
But that's not the only one.
No, not the only. We have a number of them. So we have our Slack line, which
Slack channel.
Channel. So we have a Slack channel just for any payment issues. If there's a payment issue in the system, that's where it's going to go. If I get a message in there, I'm like, oh, I know exactly it's an EFT issue or something like that.
And Slack stores all that stuff. Right. So there's this it's this constant running list that we can refer back to if it happens again. Because we sometimes we don't know if it's a never happens, like a one-off never happens. Right. Like, something crazy happened and a robot somewhere pushed a button that shouldn't have. Okay. Right. Or is it something that's consistently coming up and we now have to build a system around this never happened to prevent it from happening.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I think one of the best ways, at least from what I've seen outside of the daily logs in the Slack, that our team communicates never happens is in our level 10 meetings.
Yeah, right.
There's a portion of the agenda. So level 10 meetings, if you're not familiar, is part of EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. There's a book, Traction by Dean Wickman. Right? Gino Wickman. Sorry, Gino. Gino Wickman, and he talks, kind of spells out how to execute a level 10 meeting. But in part of the agenda of the level 10 meeting is an opportunity for them to give feedback, not just on their coworkers, but on home office personnel and stuff that we get from clients. Right. Client might call and say, hey, I'm just calling about XYZ, but I want to let you know my claims process, I had a claim and it went really great and I loved my rep. Well, awesome. Okay, that gets reported during that meeting. And then there's a spot in the agenda for issues.
Yes.
So sometimes they'll bring up feedback and it gets bumped down to the issues list.
Yep.
And then we start hearing more of it and it becomes a never happens.
Right. And a pattern makes it, when you see a pattern, it makes it easier to identify that issue that's at hand. Hopefully you can pick it up before it becomes a pattern.
But you can't pattern until you track it.
Right. So first and foremost, you got to track them.
Yes, so there has to be documentation of it. And so where that goes is for us, our daily logs, our level 10 agenda itinerary, and our Slack channel that's dedicated strictly to these issues that we have. Which
are all then moved into one of my 1,000 spreadsheets. So
there you go.
And then, that's the hub. That's where everything's at. And if I have color coding things and, numbered things. And if there's, if this falls in this category, I have a category for other, payment issues, and I can see, this is a trend now. We have to correct this if we have the means to do it. Sometimes, things are just way above our head. And
that's the part of never happens that I think a lot of business owners just kind of drop the ball on is when it's out of your control, you still have things that you can do internally.
Right. Okay? Yeah. Right.
So for instance,
workarounds and
our old commercial system was very manual. You had to hand fill in or hand type in applications for policies. And then when it finally issued, it was that handwritten copy that was then hand keyed into our internal system at home office, which then produces the documents that get mailed out.
A lot of room for error there.
Oh yeah. It's a telephone game with 800 data points on a commercial policy.
And terrible handwriting.
Yeah. So of course something's, in fact, when I first started, it was fax, so we're faxing. So the page would be missing and just crazy stuff. Or, oh no, we lost that because it got faxed and the fax never came through, but it said delivered on my end, but they didn't get it. And hot mess, right? So you go, well, that's out of my control. I can't change the fact that we have this paper heavy system. But there is. But if we take the documents that are going to get mailed to our clients and instead have them mail it directly to us so that we can review them for accuracy.
Yes.
Just in case someone typed in the, miskeyed it, you fat finger it and you messed it up. Yeah. Now we see it, we can submit the change request, have them mail us the correct copy. And now the client never saw that there was a clerical error.
All because of this simple quality control measure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it cost us, I did the math on this. It's about $500 a year.
Yeah.
About $500 a year in postage.
Well worth it.
And we have hundreds of commercial clients. So it's literally just taking them, putting them into a new envelope and then taking them to the post office and mailing them out.
That's cheaper than the premium Hulu account per month. Right. So we will do that every time.
100%, right? It's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It is a no-brainer. And our client should never have an incorrect declaration page delivered to them. ever. It should just never happen. And so we identified it because it happened. And like, I think there's like a second or third time I just said, well, this is a silly problem to have. There was always this checkbox on our applications that says send all policy documents to the agency. And we just started checking that box.
Yeah. And how many phone calls has that saved us, or unpaid claims, or, worst case scenarios?
Or for the worst for me as the owner is the erosion of trust now with that client. Well, you couldn't even get it right up front.
Right.
How am I going to trust you with my business for the next 20 years?
Yeah.
You already messed it up day one.
I'm going to rely on you for my life insurance for my family when I die. No.
Good luck. So then what you end up having is people going, hey, we talked about that life insurance. Oh yeah, let's talk about that later.
Right.
All because of this one document that was messed up. And you go, gosh, I thought they were really going to buy from me. I wonder what happened. Did I do something wrong? No, but someone did at some point.
So for $45 a month, we can do this.
Yes. It just make it a never happen. A client, it's a never happen. So I use the term no brainer on that. And that's why these can get confusing. No brainers are catching stuff before it happens, and never happens are preventing it from happening in the first place.
Proactive, not reactive.
Yes. So this is just a completely preventative measure. We always have it mailed to us, and it's become a never happens. Our clients have never gotten a deck page that was inaccurate since, unless somehow it gets mailed directly to them, which we can't control. So how does this benefit business owners? If they track their never happens, how does that benefit them?
Cleans it up for one. I mean, you clean your room. Your room's disgusting. It's just a disaster. What's that feeling right after you clean it?
Yeah.
Like you're going to sleep good. You want to be in your room now. Like you want to, so you can kind of do that in business too. I mean, clean up the systems, trim the fat, whatever you want to call it. Track the never happens. And there's just these small questions that add up, or the small different means of pressure that adds up, and it's on your shoulders. It's not each one of them aren't a big deal, but together with others, they weigh on you. And when those are gone, you can roll your shoulders back. You're more confident. You're not spending time throughout your day thinking about what's going on? Like, what did I miss, or this little issue that I haven't fixed? What is that causing now?
The biggest headache of any business owner is the dumpster fires, right? Well, I had a great day planned, and then at 1:00 I got the call that I was not looking forward to getting, and the rest of my day was gone.
Something that was probably caused by a never happened.
Probably, right?
Yeah.
And I'd probably put it at 75-25. 75% of the time, it was a never happened that should have been prevented in the first place. 25% of the time are things that are just unavoidable one-offs that you just have to step up as a business owner and take care of.
Yeah, happens.
And that happens. That's why you have a team, so that, okay, I can't get to what I need to. I'm going to delegate these things off so I can focus on the priority of the moment, right?
Yeah. So let's just be proactive and prevent, limit that risk as much as possible for something happening, any dumpster fire at all, the best of our ability, and you're going to have less of them.
100%. Yeah. It's a no brainer, right? And when from working inside of the agency, what mistakes did you make initially at tracking our never happens?
That's a good question.
I'll give you one.
Yeah.
You didn't know, one of the mistakes you made was you didn't know what was a priority never happened and what wasn't.
Yeah, right.
For you, it was
the industry.
It was all never happens. This should never happen.
It was all stuff that needed to be done.
Well,
prioritizing the things, that was the mistake I made for sure.
Yeah, just which was good at the beginning, because it's just like everything you're bringing to me, you're like, dude, we got to fix this.
Right.
And I'm going, well, let's not fix that right now, because maybe there's something coming up that I knew that would have partially fixed it or may fix it, or like for instance, our CRM is like 30 years old at this point. I think it was 25 years old when I came to the industry, something like that. And we need a new CRM, but our parent company is implementing a new CRM within the next 12 to 18 months. Right. Why would we spend tens of thousands of dollars implementing something that...
And the training and getting people comfortable with,
and then having to transition to their new CRM, So that's just like that was one of those ones where it's like, wow, this should never happen. We should be communicating with our clients, and we should have this organized, and it should all be, I know, but...
So we'll get by with what we have for another year, 18 months. And
so you patch it. What are the priority never happens in that? Well, what are the major issues? Well, what agent is assigned to what? Oh, well, we just have to clean that up as we go.
Yeah, right.
So
and that's fine as long as you're conscious of it. And you know that that's going to be the norm.
But every commission meeting, we have to go over that and make sure that the names are accurate in the system.
That's a fact. Yep.
And so any other mistakes that you can think of other than prioritizing?
Digging too deep too quick. I would find an issue instead of, just documenting it and acknowledging that it's there and going back, I kind of just committed to trying to learn as much as I could about that issue right then.
Yeah.
And so it kind of goes back to prioritizing, I guess. I should have just documented the issue, logged them all as I went on, set a timeline for myself, and then went back through my list of issues that I acknowledge and prioritizing them then.
And then digging deep into those.
Yeah, right.
Because otherwise you end up chasing the proverbial squirrel, right? I mean, it's just like, there's issue over here. There's always something to deal with.
So it was a learning curve for sure.
And then you don't deal with anything because you're just dealing with everything at once. Yeah, that's awesome.
Or the wrong things at the wrong time.
Right.
This would have cut deeper if I would have done this rather than this.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, and you only know that with time. And I recommend everybody have an implementer, like a director of operations, like we have in Alec. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please follow us on Facebook, Be Insured with Luke Mardigan, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.